Google changed its algorithms in favor of AI, and there are like AI overviews, all those things. The numbers of the organic visits are down, and that's like about 20%, I guess. But the number of leads is up by 22%.
Vladana Bačová, founder and CEO of PrettyMuchNomads, went from film school to leading a remote-first content agency. She's one of the first certified UX writers in the Czech Republic, and she's not afraid to talk about failures, AI, or what brands keep getting wrong in B2B content. Here's what she had to say.
The biggest mistake we see the most often is that translation doesn't equal localization. If you don't talk to your sales, if you don't have the sales funnel mapped, you can create as much content as you want, but there are no results. Your content needs to be very top-notch content. And with the more specific the content is, the more technical, the more detailed, the more factual it is, the more careful we are with using AI.
So how can we even measure true content performance whenever a sales cycle is that long?
There are two ways. One way we do is
E-coffee with experts.
Vladana, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
thank you for having me. I am doing fine apart from this terrible hot weather.
It is super hot. For those that are not in Europe right now, Europe is literally in a heat wave, just like the song, and it's very much unbearable. Even though I'm Brazilian, yeah, it is kind of too much, Look, Vladana, as I was introducing you, we know you all about your content skills, about I'm going to say the career that you have developed by being known as the first even certified UX writer in the Czech Republic. So
That's correct.
PrettyMuchNomads is very much into the Czech Republic and English-speaking countries and markets and business and everything else. Why don't you start telling us about how it all came together, how you founded PrettyMuchNomads? You can go behind if that's necessary. You can tell us even from the day you were born to now, what would be interesting for us to know about you and about the things that you have developed.
Yeah, well, thank you for this question. I was thinking about it like before I was coming here, about where to start, and it's really hard because I've started working, well, I studied film and theater. So that's my
very
background.
nice.
That is like completely different from what I do today. But what I brought from that world is the storytelling, the power of stories, the power of structure, and also some event management and even management as such of film production, of theater production. So I started working as a copywriter in huge companies, like in corporations, and I've stayed there for almost 3 years. Then I started freelancing, and I wanted to be a digital nomad. So that was kind of my dream, working from the beach. Once we were in Vietnam, actually, for 3 months, pandemic came.
I'm sorry to cut you. Where were you in Vietnam? Was it Da Nang or Ho Chi Minh or something else?
In Vietnam, we were in Ho Chi Minh, but then we were in a little fisherman village.
Such a beautiful country, right?
Yeah.
I was there 2 months ago, filled with digital nomads. I'm even in a Facebook group called Expats in Ho Chi Minh. And it is indeed a digital nomad paradise right now.
We loved the countryside. We loved the beaches and the Mekong River. We didn't love Ho Chi Minh so much. It was too noisy and too smoggy for us.
Traffic is crazy. Traffic is super crazy over there, but they know about it. It's even for them, it's chaotic as well.
Yeah. So, we were in this little fisherman village for a month, and we wanted to do a vacation thing, and we weren't able to because we are two workaholics, me and my partner. So then he's a programmer, and I'm a UX writer and content marketer. So when you have two people like this bored at the beach, we started to develop an app, because we always wanted to try it.
Yeah,
so
that's what always happens when you get bored. I'm going to develop an app right now. This is the usual origin story for everybody.
Yeah, so then we were thinking, okay, so how do we then promote it, sell it, under which brand? And then I was thinking, okay, so I'm freelancing. I could also do a company, and I can do an umbrella for all of my freelancing work and all of the products we are going to develop. So that's how PrettyMuchNomads started.
That's so nice. That's so nice. Such a nice story.
And then the app actually bombed. We didn't know what we were doing, so it was a huge disaster. But fortunately, not so much money was into it, so we cut it quite shortly. But then PrettyMuchNomads stayed, and it kind of developed into this let's say, agency of really like senior professionals working from anywhere from the world. That's why we also keep the nomads in the name, and we work fully remote. Then a few years later, we started with an app for the second time, and this time we already knew a bit about what we were doing. So that's how Countessaur came up to be.
When the time came for you to develop the second app, were you in the beach as well, or was it somewhere else? Somewhere else, okay.
Yeah, it was more boring story. We were like, okay, so we want to do it, but we want to do it right this time.
Yeah, no, but I mean, even though like this first story is very nice indeed, and I feel like the culture that you are bringing, and by culture I mean you, since you're the CEO and founder, you are the owner of the culture of PrettyMuchNomads. You are the guardian that makes sure that that culture stays active, and I can already feel like this is a very big thing for you, and those that are working with you must have that beachy vibe all the time, like just relaxing, being pretty much nomads. I think this is the naming of it all, right? Why Countessaur though? Is the sour because somebody is literally a dinosaur fan? Like what was the thinking behind Countessaur's naming?
We were thinking of branding a lot, and we were also thinking of playing with the words, like with the name of our agency, so pretty much content, things like that. But then we tried to do it right. So we did some user testing, we did some research, and Countessaur was actually the name that people reacted well to.
And it's a very nice name. Again, very nice name.
People love dinosaurs.
Yeah.
We also like dinosaurs, so it kind of clicked. And when we were first time at Web Summit in Lisbon, we were there like promoting the Countessaur, and everybody was just stopping by. Yeah, that's such a cute dinosaur. You have that in the logo.
It is.
So we were like, okay.
It is nice. It is nice. It does work out. That's for sure. Look, you're talking about two products, the agency and the software, two products, two services with a very, I'm not gonna say a very, but that are right now in an overcrowded market. So naturally, whenever I bring people over to the show that made success in overcrowded markets, my usual question is how? How did you manage to break through the noise? How did you manage to scale it up? If you can tell us one bad decision that you made in the beginning that you're like, oh my God, I would never repeat that decision again, that would be perfect, because we have a lot of people watching and listening to us that are going through those steps of creating their own agency, starting their own agency. So learning from mistakes usually stick to our heads better than learning from success. Everybody's successful right now on the internet. Everybody has 10 Porsches and 10 mansions and are making $1 million a day. So we like to keep it to the ground.
Yeah, I would say that for each person, success is something different. For me, it is that we are able to pay our bills. We are in the green numbers, and that doesn't mean that I can, take like half a year off and be okay, and everything would run smoothly. And there are not like dozens of clients knocking on the door each day. That's not something that's happening for us. I'm not even sure if I would like that to be happening.
Yeah.
But we are a pretty small team, and we manage. What I did like at the beginning, like the things I would take back or I wouldn't recommend doing. At first, I wanted to be like 360 kind of agency. I wanted to do it all from branding, like PPCs, like every kind of marketing there is, not only outbound, inbound, graphic design, and also the copywriting, like all of it. And pretty soon I realized that's not what would work for me, because I'm very good at what I do. I understand like the B2B marketing. I understand the content creation, the strategy behind it.
Nice.
But I cannot oversee like PPCs or like paid advertising. That's something I don't understand. I don't really like try to get into deep. And that's something I don't want to. I cannot like sign off to clients that it's okay because I'm not sure. So that is something that I stopped doing pretty fast. I said, okay, let's do what I'm good at.
And that was a great decision, right? That was a great decision.
Yeah.
I think if we were talking about 15 years ago, full services, agencies were more of a thing, right? Again, 15 years, 20 years ago, maybe even those that were for full service back then, right now, they had specialized into something. As you said, so yourself, it can be paid ads, it can be SEO, it can be content, it can be so many things, right? So it is good to know that you found your niche. And I think this is actually a pretty good connection to my next question, which is the things that you're good at. Talking about storytelling, content generation. Right now in B2B, especially whenever you go to LinkedIn, you can see that personal branding is a very strong topic right now. Branding as a whole, communication, humanizing brands, connecting people to people. There's different sorts of ways where you can say that you need to humanize yourself as much as you can. This is a thing that a lot of people are talking about. What's your take on the power of voice storytelling, content with, with a thought, with something that matters, especially in highly technical or complex industries, such as the one that you're taking care right now, which is tech and B2B?
Yeah. As you said, we specialize basically only in tech B2B. So we work only with software, hardware, and development companies. And in this space, the biggest mistake people do is they try to seem professional. So they are talking too complex or sophisticated and nobody understands.
That is so true.
So you really dumb it up, like dumb it down, let's say, just to say, okay, just be clear. Don't try to be too much expertly. You don't need to. You don't need to if. Also, it depends on who you are selling to. If you are selling to a CTO of the company, you then want to be specific. You want to be full of facts and full of knowledge. But if your persona or if your target group is someone like an owner of a business that doesn't know anything about APIs or about CRMs, things like that, then you don't want to be really not understandable for them. So that is something we struggle sometimes with when we work with tech companies, but also having a distinguished or really interesting tone of voice or interesting way of telling things and of your story. That is also something that could distinguish you a lot on the market. Because, for example, we worked with a lot of companies that specialized in custom development, IT custom development. There are dozens of them. You cannot really distinguish yourself by saying what technology you use or how fast you are or what the perfect client service you have. That's not something that is unique.
That is true.
What you can be unique in is the brand and is the voice, is the way you talk to people and that people connect to you.
Great to know. Can you give me an example? Let's pretend that I'm a CEO. I'm the owner of, can be a SaaS. Okay, I'm the owner of a SaaS. Those SaaS that comes out every day, those sales SaaS. There's a lot of sales SaaS right now. So I'm the owner of a sales SaaS, tech bro, very nice, very much into tech, into updating technologies themselves. But as you said so yourself, I have several other competitors. And if I were to approach you and say, Vladana, I actually am looking to improve my content, to improve it in a way where people will connect because of the person behind it all. Would you suggest that I start on LinkedIn with video? Would you suggest that I start on social media and then connect it to LinkedIn? Is there already a process, which I know it's a case by case scenario, but overall, if the world is perfect, which process would you ask me to follow that is very good, usually works out pretty well?
I think that in B2B, like in overall marketing, sometimes marketers have the disadvantage to look at things in their own field and not seeing the context of it. So if you ask me what content should I create, and especially in B2B, I would say connect with your sales. And the first thing you need to do is to discuss with your sales how the sales funnel is looking and how the conversion rates are doing, and where do you have any leaks or any issues, any troubles you need to solve. And then you can start thinking about what content in what part of user journey or customer journey are you targeting? Because usually people come to us and they say exactly what you said. Okay, so I want to publish something on LinkedIn twice a week, and I want to do some blog post once in 2 weeks, and then I want to do a newsletter once a month. And that's like a typical assignment we get. And I really fight against this, doing it this way, because then the results are not there. If you don't know what you are dealing with, if you don't know the customer journey, if you don't talk to your sales, if you don't have the sales funnel mapped, you can create as much content as you want, but there are no results.
Hey, this is why we call it Coffee with Experts. This is expert insight right here with us, really right here with us. The part about the sales cycle makes a lot of sense. I think I understood what you were saying, which is, okay, I connected to my sales team and they tell me that the biggest obstacle is getting a demonstration booked. Or then the biggest obstacle is after the demonstration, the customer still doesn't know what it is that we do. And then we have to focus on those pains where we're not really converting and talk to the audience through the social media posts and whatever, just so that we have more information about that specific step that is not performing well. Is that it?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Awesome. That's a great insight. Thank you. I think we can stick into it and talking about some sales teams in B2B. a lot of the higher end B2Bs have a very long sales cycle. Usually it's indirect, usually has a lot of different steps that are not even, how can I say, in the responsibility of the company. Usually there are external factors, usually there are something else right there waiting for it. So how can we even measure true content performance whenever a sales cycle is that long?
There are two ways. One way we do is we look at the proxy signs. That means we measure each and every channel or activity separately, and we see how it performs, and we try to map it to the results. So, for example, right now we are like dealing with one client, and as you know, as like every marketer knows, Google changed its algorithms in favor of AI, and there are like AI overviews, all those things. That means that there could be a rapid downgrade in your organic visits on a website. So what we did was, okay, so the numbers of the organic visits are down a bit, like about 20%, I guess, but the number of leads is up by 22%.
Where are the leads coming from?
Yeah.
AI on the sources whenever they're mentioning, right?
So we are still able, but still, as I said, we need to take a look at the data in context, because if I would be only saying, okay, so organic is not working anymore, let's stop doing blog posts, let's stop doing like websites, anything. That's not the decision you would like to make based on one number you look at. And so when we talk about those proxy signs, it's also like if you organize a webinar, how many attendees were there? How many of those attendees actually booked a demo? How many of those attendees have you spoken to further? And you need to measure like downloads of the white papers you have on your website, and it's such small things. And then when you have like those proxy signs, then you are trying to put them in the bigger picture. That means you talk to sales again. You talk to how the sales funnel is doing. And ideally, you also talk to your users or to your audience. We are like heavily UX-based marketing company, so we usually do also user interviews.
Oh, perfect.
Or like client interviews. That's really interesting what people actually tell you. And then you can, if you ask, it's just enough to ask and they will tell you a lot of things. And one of the things that is very important is how they talk about it, how they name the pain point they have. What is it they value about you? What is it they don't understand about your service? And those are the inputs you can then make into actionable steps.
That's great to know. That's great to know. A lot of the guests that I bring here, they always say the same thing, which is to listen to your customers and to your users. And it always scares me to notice that it should be common sense, but still not. Very far away from being common sense. I last month got 2 gift cards of $20 from 2 different services that I use where they were asking me to provide them a review. Yeah. And then depending on the review, they were like, if it was good enough, and of course I made it good enough to get 20 pounds, they paid me and this turned into Steam games over on my account. So talking to customers, and even so you mentioned that you're working a lot with UX. What are some of the formats that we can get in touch with those customers, or some of the formats that you know that are very simple, very accessible even, because some companies may say, oh, I don't have the money to pay $20 per user to give me a review. So what would I do? Of course, we have Google Forms, we have Typeform, we have several other ways. But even so, until this day, is there a go-to format that you utilize to get in touch with such customers?
It depends on what customers they are. If they are users of an app, or if they are customers of a service, for example. But what I would say is you can basically choose any method if you have covered both quantitative and qualitative part of the research. Because the quantitative part of the research will tell you where there is an issue, and then the qualitative part will tell you what the issue is. So it doesn't really matter if you have like really long questionnaires, if you have interviews with the users. I wouldn't really recommend focus groups. It didn't work well for us in the past, because usually in focus groups there is 1 or 2 like really strong-willed individuals that are hijacking the whole session.
That is true. I'm usually that guy. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Well, and also like you can also do your own research. Like I usually also prepare our customers for conferences and for events. And when you have like a booth at the conference, it's a great opportunity to collect customer feedback and to research your potential user base. Okay. So you can always have all those questions prepared, so you don't think about it, what to ask. And you can do your research anywhere you are. if people come to you, that's the easiest way.
Yeah, that is true. I usually do take my time on conferences to ask like, why are you here? What is it that you're looking for? What is it that you're like traumatized with, that you're looking for an alternative here? That does pay out sometimes indeed. And even in those conferences, one thing that I always end up having is multiple people from multiple regions wanting the same service. And we all know that a lot of brands are global and they are trying to maximize their efforts in a global way, but global doesn't mean one single strategy. Doesn't mean one single language, doesn't mean one single factor. Even back in Brazil, we have the brands that are tropicalizing themselves. It became a verb to tropicalize yourself, like a car company, Peugeot, Citroën, they have suspensions in France that are not working in Brazil, so they have to tropicalize the car. Several other examples. I would love to understand from your side, talking about this subject, about globalization and having different strategies, what are the mistakes that you see brands doing whenever they are trying to localize their content for different geographics? And what are the successes that you're also finding whenever you're looking at the customer's efforts?
I guess I wouldn't say anything too new or surprising here, but what is the biggest mistake we see the most often is that translation doesn't equal localization. If you have a website in English and you want to expand to the German market, let's say, and you just hire a translator to translate your website, it doesn't mean it will work for German audience. So we specialize in also helping the companies to conquer other markets. We have US native speakers in our team. That's not me. So we usually help either Czech companies to enter American, European, DACH, like German-speaking market. We also helped expand into Asia to companies, I guess. And the strategy is always to know the market and to localize all the marketing efforts for that market. Because, for example, in Czech Republic, we are a post-communist country. We are really, how to say it? We are really factual. We don't like to boost ourselves a lot. We don't have big egos. It's just, we are really honest and modest in our presentation. If you just take a website of a Czech company and translate it for the US market, it wouldn't work. The US would think that you are just like a little guy sitting in the garage when you are talking like this. In the US, you need to put emotions into it. You need to boost yourselves. You need to talk differently. And even you need to use different arguments for people to buy, because the people are different. They hear like to different arguments, to different reasons why to buy. And that is something you need to know when you are entering a different market. Even Czech and Slovaks, we were used to be one country in the past. And even when you are marketing products, the same product in the Czech and Slovak market, it's completely different messaging. Because Slovaks are also like more emotional, more passionate, let's say.
That's so
we are
nice
saying
to know.
they are like the Italy of Czech Republic. So
I see.
that's on one border, you know, and it's shared history. And even then you have differences.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Another thing that should be common sense that is it's not only a translation of languages. It's a translation of a lot of different things. Did you ever think about going to another language? Because right now it's Czech and English speaking countries, but did you ever think about going, I don't know, as you said, Asia, you're talking about Asia right now. Are you going to be providing Chinese in the future or another different language, or even coming to Europe? Are you going to be providing Portuguese, Spanish? What's next in regard to this language situation and the language optimization and specialty that you have?
I wouldn't like to repeat my mistake from the beginning. That
Of
means
trying.
I wouldn't like to try sell something I cannot like put my hand into the fire or like really assure people that it would be okay. Because I've studied English for translation and interpreting as well at the university. So when I take a look at the English text, I know what I'm doing. Like even I can do some copywriting in English. I can do UX writing in English, you know. So I know what I'm talking about. I always have the US native speaker to look at it after it, just to make the check mark. But English is something I'm very comfortable with. And right now we are trying to work with a German copywriter. So that's something we are now trying to explore if it would work or if it wouldn't. But I'm really careful about that.
No, it is very, very, very interesting and great to know, especially you were talking about right now, how greed is not something in your vocabulary. No, because there are so many owners that would go different languages, especially now with AI. thinking about it like, oh, now I can do it all. And here you are showing like, no, I want to make sure that I'm only working with the things that I know about, that I'm good at, that I know that I can put my signature below, and that it would be indeed something that I would sign up. This is, again, very much a different thing looking around the whole market itself, where you have so many claiming to do so much. One thing that I do know that you're doing that was also very interesting to me and caught my eye was about your services with AI prompting, that you even let it available on your website. Again, you are one of the first agencies in the Czech Republic to do so. Why should companies start involving AI in copywriting? And why is it that you were the first one to do it? What was it that you saw that was like, this is an amazing thing that I'm going to add to my services, that I'm going to give my signature into, and that's going to be the future of Pretty Much Nomads?
Yeah. Well, we started working with AI even before ChatGPT. That's something I would like to say really loud.
That's a good disclaimer.
Because as we work in the tech industry a lot, and we are ourselves startup as well because of the Countessaur, we are expected of a higher standard of working with technologies. And that is something we are not shy from. So that is something, when ChatGPT came into the market, I was the first, I think I was the first copywriter, but I would like to disclaim that, to speak on the Web Expo conference about how to use ChatGPT for copywriting.
That's so
and
nice.
What prompts to use. And it was even like the year that ChatGPT was, or maybe it was in November. I was at the conference in May, I believe. So that was something like very, very close to that, because then we realized that all the tools we were using before were nothing compared to ChatGPT at that point. Right now, I wouldn't say that ChatGPT is the best thing on the market, but back then it was. So I think that every copywriter or content marketer that is working in today's field and wants to stay that way needs to study AI and needs to learn how to use it during their day-to-day activities. And there are different AIs for everything. I'm not saying that you need to use like 50 AI tools for everything, but I think the basic is to have some chats, at least 2, because there are different chats for different things. You need to work with website builders, you need to work with wireframe builders, but depending on what you do again. But for us, for example, in our company, we always have the rule that each text, each output that is coming from one copywriter needs to be looked at by another copywriter.
That's a nice...
Because then you can be blind. If you are like writing the same text for 2 days, then you just don't see it anymore.
Yeah, it can be so tiresome having to look at the same content over and over and over before publishing it.
Yeah,
it's actually very nice.
And the review process was cut by half in terms of time, thanks to AI. Because right now we work with AI to set the feedback for the tone of voice, to set the feedback for the structures, for the articles, for the social media posts, and so on. And also it helps create more individual sales materials for each. And there are some content that we as content creators only need to curate. We don't need to write it from scratch. And it's a huge time saver, a huge money saver for the companies as well. But there is still a lot that we need to be very careful about using AI with. And especially in B2B, especially when you have deals that cost millions of euros, you cannot afford to make a mistake. So your content needs to be really top-notch content. And with the more specific the content is, the more technical, the more detailed, the more factual it is, the more careful we are with using AI.
Once again, it's going to be the second time. That's why we're Coffee with Experts, everyone. Look at the amount of insights we just gathered. But let me ask you my closing one, and then we're going to have to wrap it up around here. So you went and told us everything about how Pretty Much Nomads and Countessaur started. You talked about the importance of UX. You talked about the importance of listening to your customers. And AI is here to stay, as we all know. It's here to help. I love it so much. I use it as much as I can. I even tell my wife there is this game called Cyberpunk where people are building stuff into their own bodies.
Yeah.
As soon as AI can be put in here, I'm going to be doing it. Not going to lie. I'm going to be doing it. I'm one of those that don't really care with Some people say, you're putting your name under an AI, they're going to copy you. Yeah, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be alive in 50 years to have a body to claim of my own. So, let's use it as much as we can right now. What is the thing that you're looking for in the future? Let's not use AI as an answer, okay? Let's not use a better version of AI. Let's think something else. What is something that you're looking for in the future that you know is coming or that you are expecting to come? And it doesn't even need to be a product or a service. It can be like a change in the world, a change in how things are being done right now. Maybe it's 4 working days instead of 5 working days. What is it that you're like, okay, once this comes, this is going to be great for humanity?
I'm thinking about how to answer this because I'm very pessimistic about the future right now.
Look, I'm not going to lie. Same. I'm actually discussing if I should even continue saving money right now. But, this is going to be a totally different conversation if we are to delve into what's happening overall. So let's pretend that there's nothing bad happening in the world. What else would you keep an eye out?
Well, what I think is that the society as a whole needs to change.
Yeah, sure.
Needs to incline more towards, let's say, humanistic fields than technical fields. Because as I see now, the advancements in technical fields are so much further and so much faster than the advancements in, let's say, legal aspects, psychological aspects, even ethical, or somehow, like those fields. And what I am very aware of is, yes, even now, AI is not so much developed as it will be in like 2 years. That'll be crazy. But even now, I see copywriters that are just like closing eyes and pretending it's not happening, and they are continuing to work the same as they used to. And that is something that won't last long. And still, we will need to have some people that know how to use the AI and that will curate the content and curate the outcomes of the AI, and who will oversight the automations, the agents, the connections, the APIs, things like that. But it wouldn't be as many people in the field necessary as they are now. And the workforce will be cut a lot in this field. And there is a big question of what will happen with all those people that don't have anything to do anymore. So I would love to be optimistic and say, so they will give us shorter hours and more money.
Yeah.
Or we will have like universal basic income or something. But at this space in this world, I don't see it happening.
No.
So we need to change education. We need to change the way we bring up new generations to be more adaptable, to be more flexible, to know how to work with those tools. And it's already too late. So that is something I'm very skeptical about right now. And actually, I'm not really sure how it will turn out.
No, me neither. I mean, we had guests here on the show whose cities were bombarded like weeks before the show or days before the show. It is hard to be optimistic, not gonna lie. But even so, what I could extract out of it is, no matter if we're not able to understand what comes in the future, we need to do our best right now. And I feel like you're doing your best right now. As I said, you're not lying to your customers. You're not taking services that you wouldn't be able to deliver. You're not giving promises that you wouldn't be able to keep. You're not the villain here. The situation right now is not your fault. So you're doing what you can do best at Pretty Much Nomads, and those families are having a better life because of that. So I think this is what we can and should hold right now, right? The circle and how much we can improve around our own circles.
Yes.
And this is what you're doing as far as I can see.
And that's also why we created Countessaur. I mean, it is like very approachable AI. So that means that even small businesses and small like entrepreneurs or freelancers that cannot afford to hire a marketer, cannot afford to do this, can use a tool that will tell them what to do and when. And that's kind of a vision we have. It's not quite there yet, but we are working on it. We will get there.
It will get there. I'm sure of it.
So to make this technology accessible to everyone who may use it, and to make it more easier to come into the AI space, I think is very crucial at this point.
Nice. Well, everyone who's here with us, you know where to check for the links. They're going to be down in the description below. Check Countessaur, check Pretty Much Nomad. We're going to also drop Vladana's LinkedIn account here. Follow her up, see the things that she's posting about. And Vladana, just thank you so much for being here and sharing so much. This was literally any coffee with experts. We have a lot of expert information. And we wish you all the success in the world, all the best, that everything gets better and that you can still keep on changing lives for the better way by giving them Countessaur, by giving them everything that you're sharing about, because I'm sure you're going to be inspiring a lot of people just with this episode. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it, and the best for you as well, and the listeners.
Same. For everyone else, let's connect on the next one. Until then, this has been Victor with Vladana. Take care.
Take care.